The Rochdale 28, by Anonymous. This is recorded to celebrate the 8th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Rochdale 28. Yes, I am one of the 28, I am proud to say. We were pioneers, for we cut down the jungle of monopoly, broke up the boulders of high profits, and cleared the road for ourselves and our children of not a little roguery. See how many armies of cooperatives are marching triumphantly in our wake. We, the Rochdale 28, were pioneers, made the path for them, as the British engineers made the road to Senefe. 28 of us met together, exactly 23 years ago, and thought we might as well put in our own pockets the profits made by stiff butchers, uncivil grocers, and pitiless tallymen. So we clubbed together, and made up £1 a man, £28 in all, and began to sell tea, sugar, and coffee in a small shop in a back street. Of course we were laughed at. Our fellow workmen called us the 28 merchant princes, but we persevered, and sold our 2 ounces of tea and £half of sugar cheerfully. One of our number took it in turn to attend 3 days each week, at breakfast and dinner hour, to sell. At first a penny passbook did for a ledger, as we kept no accounts. We never went in debt, and we gave no credit. In 2 or 3 years our fellow workmen found their laugh was on the wrong side. Our business became a thriving one, and the lads and lasses came in crowds to take shares and become their own merchants. We are an institution now, sir, a great English institution, with our well-paid managers, clerks, buyers, shopkeepers, and unpaid committeemen. Our books are always open to inspection, and every member learns once a quarter how his capital is growing. We began, I said, with 28 members. There are very nearly 7,000 of us now in this one society. If you want the exact numbers, you can have them. They were, on the 1st of January 1868, precisely 6,823. We are more now than we were this time last year, by 577. That proves how we are getting on. Here is our grand sheet almanac for 1868. We publish an almanac every year now, which our members fix up at home, and point to as an authentic record of our progress. You see by the Director's report for 1867, contained in the first column, that we don't do business in a back street now. How much money do you think we received last year across the counter for goods? Here it is. Money received for goods sold, £284,910. There is a trade for you. I wonder what the 28 original pioneers would say if they looked out of the window of the back street shop and saw this almanac today. You will find we did more business by £34,789 in 1867 than in 1866. Of course we made money. Why shouldn't we, with such a roaring trade as that? Well, we cleared, after deducting all costs of management, rent, etc., exactly £41,619. I would like to show that entry to the 28 originals. But how they would stare if I read out to them the statement of our accumulated capital. We possess, sir, a capital today of £128,435, and that is something for equitable pioneers to boast of. Yet we do not hesitate to invest money in permanent improvements. You see our almanac is illustrated with a handsome engraving, in the legitimate way of old established almanacs. That, sir, is our new central store, of cut stone, 4 stories high, built, as our architect Mr. Cheetham tells us, in Byzantine Gothic style. The great clock in front, you see, is surmounted by a beehive, for all are gathering honey within. We spent £15,500 on that edifice, and it is, I do not fear to say, a very handsome ornament to the good town of Rochdale. Then we have erected a giant bakehouse, to supply pure and wholesome bread to those who may not be able to bake for themselves, and who object to the use of potato flour, ground rice, whiting, or alum in their loaf. We are investing, too, £10,000 in building a good class of cottage houses in the town, just the thing required for steady workmen who like a comfortable, pleasant home and a bright fireside. We have bought, also, a piece of the Larkfield estate. The name reminds one of the bird that sings near Heaven's Gate, and we are preparing plans for laying the ground out to the best advantage. Still, our capital amounts to £128,435, and we are considering how we may safely employ a portion of it. Parliament last year removed all restrictions but one, upon the action of cooperative societies. We can enter upon any business we please now, but that of banking, and Over-end Gurney and Co. are a caution to us not to wish to turn our money in that direction. Yes, there are withdrawals from our society, and that to the tune of £38,982. Workmen may wish to purchase a cottage, to portion a daughter, to extend or open in business, to help a son on in the world, or to meet, if Providence so wills, the cost of sickness. The shareholders can get their money at any time, with 5%, up to the hour of withdrawal. So we pioneers offer greater advantages than savings banks. But notwithstanding these withdrawals, we have now £28,446 more capital than we possessed this time last year. You want to know what we do with the profits? This almanac will tell you. We divide our profits quarterly. First of all, we allow interest at 5% per annum on all paid-up shares. That in itself is no despicable dividend these times. Then we allow 10% as depreciation for all fixed stock, a proportion rather in excess, you will say, but it is better to err on the right side. Thirdly, we deduct 2.5% off the whole net profits for educational purposes. That is a proper rule for pioneers to adopt. And when we have provided for all these items, we divide the remainder among the members in proportion to the money expended by them with the society. Last year each member received 2 shillings and 7 pence back out of every pound he spent on purchases at our stores. That profit, and the 5%, and 2.5% for educational purposes, would have gone elsewhere, without the slightest benefit to the consumers, only for the equitable pioneers. You are curious to know what we mean by educational purposes. Well, again, the almanac must tell you. We don't profess to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We mean education for the social life of youth and manhood. We have, you see, a library of about 7,000 volumes of good and useful books, adapted to all classes and ages of readers. The pioneers are of no party in literature. We seek good everywhere. Moreover, we have a very useful institution, called a reference library, always open, in which there are 150 volumes of first-class works, well adapted for giving immediate information on subjects which concern all classes of the community. Then there are large globes, maps, atlases, and a telescope in every reading-room for the use of members. We know down in Rochdale all about the march of our army in Abyssinia. We have 11 newsrooms, all airy, cheerful apartments, well warmed and lighted, with comfortable seats and reading desks. The newsrooms are situated in those parts of Rochdale where the working men chiefly live. They have not to walk far from home to the pleasant reading-room, where they will find laid out for them daily and weekly newspapers, periodicals, monthly magazines, and quarterly reviews, representing all shades of politics, religion, and social systems. I had almost forgotten to tell you that if a working man wishes to borrow a microscope to examine fine work, or insects, or flowers gathered in his walks afield, or an opera glass to scan the features of some distinguished lecturer or speaker, or a stereoscope to amuse and instruct the children, he can obtain the loan of them for a trifling fee. We sell the old newspapers and periodicals every 3 months, and then a mechanic can procure a set of a valuable periodical for a sum almost nominal. The 28 began trade with a very limited stock of groceries. Everybody would want tea, coffee, and sugar, and the trade could be carried on with comparatively little trouble or expense. But under the name groceries we now include an immense variety of articles. Our object, too, is to save time and trouble, and we think it an equitable thing that the artisan's wife or daughter should be able to purchase all she wants for the week's consumption, or, as to that matter, for half a year's wear, at the one shop. We have 10 depots besides this grand central store, which figures in our almanac. At each of these stores a child can buy the general groceries for the household, sure of getting the best articles and full weight. Where she buys the groceries, she can procure all kinds of butcher's meat. We purchase our own fat cattle and prime weather mutton now, sir. We pioneers are rather proud when we see a drove of sleek-skinned, bright-eyed, fat bullocks driven down the street, and know they will give juicy joints and rich soups to our wives and children. We make contracts, too, with breeders in the country, who send us up the carcasses by rail. Our experience is not only that we get the best meat at a reasonable price, but more of it, somehow, to the pound weight. The lump of tallow never sticks at the bottom of the purchaser's scale in equitable shops, and our beams are of the same length on either side of the tongue. It would do your heart good on a Friday evening to see poor people, not members, making their little purchases, They know they won't be cheated, and that what they get, little or much, is good. No, we don't sell drapery at all the stores. A gown or shawl, sir, is a matter requiring some consideration and due forethought. Our wives can afford a little walk for such a serious matter as the purchase of a bonnet or a cloak. We have 4 depots for drapery, and what a world of articles is included under that name! The wives like to bring their husbands with them to these depots. Women, you know, sir, fancy a man's taste in the matter of dress, and if they do consult our taste, sir, we must be a little generous. A single store, but it is a large one, supplies the wants of the pioneers in tailoring. But we have 3 depots for the sale of boots and shoes, and noisy but serviceable clogs. At all the stores, orders for coal are received, and the housewife gets the best Gilles Cros or Whitehaven laid down comfortably in her coal bunk without trouble. We like the half-holiday movement, too, and we close all our houses of business on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock. That breaks the week. I said we were pioneers, and that a multitude of cooperatives followed in our wake. Just glance at this return from the Rochdale Co-operative Corn Mill Society. The members possess a capital of £89,000, and they did a trade, last year, of £356,440. They have not totted up their profit and loss account for 67, but they made £18,163 in 1866, on a cash business of £224,122. They deliver, every week, 1,480 sacks of unadulterated flour, 128 loads of oatmeal, and 892 loads of malt and other goods. The members are now laying out £10,000 in erecting malt kilns, for the artisan requires good sound beer or ale, and there will be no cocculus indicus in a cooperative store. No, we cooperatives are not altogether free from losses. We must expect now and then to meet with a rub, and we have suffered somewhat heavily in the matter of cotton. You see, the American Civil War upset the cotton trade for a while altogether, and when the war ended, and cotton came from 100 different sources, we met a loss amongst the rest by a sudden fall in the raw material. They say that cotton brokers rigged the market, but I don't pretend to know the rights of it. We are working this cooperative manufacturing society at a profit now, but we lost £13,034 in the last 3 years. We comfort ourselves with the thought that we cleared £26,461 since 1857, so the general balance of profit and loss is in our favour, to the amount of £13,400, and we are doing a business of £150,000 a year on a capital of £118,990. We have, moreover, a cooperative building society, paying 5%, and a Providence Sick and Burial Society, which has not incurred the animadversion of Mr. Tidd Pratt. We have, too, a wholesale society, for the supply of cooperative stores, with a capital of £24,208, doing a business of £255,779. But being a wholesale concern, managed by a few, we are satisfied with a profit of only £3,452 yearly. A merchant, with the same amount of capital, would be content with a similar proportion of gain. Then there is a cooperative insurance company, just commencing to work, and as our means increase, there is no knowing what business we may yet undertake. Only we are all determined to proceed with care and caution, and not to risk what we have already won, by rash speculation. I think our almanac, single sheet as it is, gives us 28 some reason to feel proud in being equitable pioneers. End of The Rochdale 28, by Anonymous. Read by Jason Mills.